Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from mother-in-law Chickenpox and says, mother-in-law 56 female deliberately infected my 27 female daughter, one female, with chickenpox. I'm livid. She doesn't think it's a big deal. I can hardly type this out because thinking about it makes me so angry. Earlier this year, my husband, 31 male, and I decided to spend Christmas with his family for the first time since my daughter was born last September. Since they live 12 hours away, we decided to stay for a few weeks before Christmas so they could spend loads of time with Annie, 13 months. We arrived early like we planned and everything was great. I've had a few disagreements with my mother-in-law, Trish, 56 female, in the past over my parenting style. She criticized me for using disposable diapers, buying baby food from the supermarket and not raising Annie as an organic baby. But everything seemed great. After a day or two settling in, my husband and I decided to pick up a few gifts from a mall around an hour away before last-minute rush kicked in. My father-in-law, 60 male, tagged along. Trish said she was happy to take care of Annie. We got back a few hours later and Annie was down for a nap on a blanket I didn't recognize. Trish said one of her friends dropped by and gave it as an early Christmas gift. It looked pretty old and worn, but I figured one of her hippie friends was just recycling it. The next 2 weeks were fine, aside from Trish making a point to prepare meals for Annie from scratch. I mentioned this to my husband and he said to just let her be. Annie mostly mushed the food Trish gave her with her hands and threw the bowls on the floor, as she's been doing at the moment. Trish said it would take her a while to get used to nutritious meals. I was getting sick of her meddling, but it was only for a few weeks, so for the sake of the holidays, I let it slide. The day after Christmas, Annie was really unsettled and wouldn't stop fidgeting and crying. I took her temperature and she had a fever, so I kept an eye on her for the next few days and it thankfully started to go down. This morning, she started to get a rash and blisters on her arms and legs and I freaked out. I was packing a bag to drive to see a doctor when Trish asked where I was going. I told her Annie had a rash and I was taking her to see a doctor. She got a weird smug smile on her face and told me there was nothing to worry about. When I asked her what she was talking about, she said without even looking at Annie that what she had was just chickenpox. I asked her how she could possibly know that and she casually admitted one of her friend's grandkids had chickenpox a few weeks ago. So she asked them to wipe a blanket over the child's arms, legs and face and bring it to her house. At this point, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So I asked if that blanket was the gift Annie was sleeping on. She said it was. I lost my shit. To be honest, I don't really remember what I said because I was up most of the night for 2 days checking on Annie. I just unleashed on Trish asking what the fuck was wrong with her. My husband and father-in-law came in to try and calm things down and Trish dug her heels in and said chickenpox was the best and most natural thing for Annie to build up her immunity. I already have a vaccination schedule in place with my pediatrician and she was booked in to get immunized for chickenpox at 18 months. We drove to see the doctor and he confirmed she had it. He said I'll have to cut Annie's nails short. I might have to tape socks on her hands while she sleeps because kids so young can scratch until they bleed and that will leave scars. On the drive back, my husband started making excuses for Trish, that she was only doing what she thought was best. Couldn't believe he was defending her, and we fought most of the way home until I told him to stop talking to me. Annie's been scratching like crazy, and I just had to tape socks over her hands. Trish tried to talk to me when we got back, and I told her to get out of my sight. We were meant to stay until Wednesday, but I just finished packing up our stuff so we can leave first thing in the morning. I'm so angry, I can't even think. Whenever I hear Trish moving around in the kitchen, my heart starts beating faster and I feel like going out there and grabbing her by her hair. I don't ever want to see her again or let my daughter see her again. What can I say to make her and my husband realize the enormity of what she's done? I don't think I can speak coherently to their faces until Annie gets better. Now, I can totally get why you'd be so upset in this situation. She deliberately exposed your young child to chickenpox without your knowledge about it at all, which is extremely concerning, and people not getting upset about this is wild to me. And you know, I'm no doctor, but I've heard in the past, while super common or anything, it can cause complications in infants as well. And any adult who's not immunized against it or had chickenpox in the past as well. So anyone else come into contact with your child and didn't know what she had done was at risk at the same time. Absolute batshit behavior. Mum did the right thing by, seeking medical care when she did. And your husband needs to be on the same page as you in this situation. How can he look at that? She went behind your back to do this. But someone asked OP, they asked why the daughter wasn't vaccinated for chickenpox. OP says she's up to date on a vaccination schedule. She was vaccinated for measles a month ago and booked in to get the chickenpox vaccine at 18 months old, as normal. Fruit Punching says, if someone did this to my child, deliberately infecting them with a disease without discussing it with me first, with malicious intent of undermining my parenting to teach me a lesson, they'd never see my child for extended periods or unsupervised again. Another commenter says, your husband better step up and act like a father and stop acting like a son. OP came in with an update and said thank you to everyone for your comments, inbox messages and advice after my original post. I read all the comments and messages and they genuinely helped, especially the home remedies on how to stop itching. Since my first post was locked and deleted, I hope it's okay to briefly summarize here. I won't read the summary because we've just basically read it. On to the update. I didn't think it would be possible, but things got worse. I got up first thing the next morning and started packing our stuff into the car. Once I opened it, I kept the keys in my pocket since I was going in and out. Usually we use Jack's set and leave mine in my bag. While I was packing, he sat in the kitchen with Trish and my father-in-law, 60 male, and chatted and had coffee like nothing was wrong. Annie was mercifully still asleep, so I just gently belted her in and closed the door when Jack came out and asked if I had everything. I said we were good to go as soon as he was. He said okay and calmly took out his key set and centrally locked the car, locking Annie in. I asked him what the hell he was doing, and he said he wouldn't be leaving until I apologized to Trish. I think I was stunned into silence because he then took the chance to rehash what he said the previous day. That Trish thought she was doing something what was best, that chickenpox doesn't kill you, and that I was making a bigger deal out of this than I needed to, and making Trish feel bad. Yes, making her feel bad. All the comments from my last post were swirling around in my head, and I told him he needs to stop being a son and start being a father. He screwed up his face and said he would always be Trish's son. And that was the point, that nobody should speak to his mother the way I had the day before, and I needed to apologize to clear the air. I felt like I'd entered some kind of weird twilight zone where I had accidentally married a 9-year-old instead of an adult man. So I just asked him to open the car so we could leave. He repeatedly refused, then walked back inside and said he would see me in there when I was acting more reasonable. You can probably guess what happened next. I'd left my bag on the passenger seat, so he probably assumed my keys were in there. Nope. I waited 30 seconds, then just hopped into the car and drove away. My phone blew up with a million calls from him, Trish, and my father-in-law. Eventually, my mum and dad and my sister Jess, who I'm super close with, called as well. I'd briefly text Jess about what was happening the day before, but she was stunned to get the full blow-by-blow. By the time I was on the open road, I asked her to phone Jack and tell him he could walk home for all I care. Once she heard my side of the story and not Jack's, which was apparently that I'd gone crazy, frightened Trish, snatched Annie and sped away, she calmed way down. Mum, Dad and Jess offered to start driving and meet me halfway so I could switch with one of them and wouldn't have to drive the full 12 hours by myself in one day. I was so grateful to see them. I pretty much broke down in a truck stop parking lot while I blubbered that I loved them. They all took turns driving while I had a rest. It was super reassuring to talk it over and hear that Trish and Jack are the unreasonable ones. Once we got back, I stayed at my parents' overnight and they said I could stay as long as I needed. Next few days were fairly tense. I was up most of the night making sure Annie didn't scratch, which she did anyway somehow, and it seemed like she just cried and cried and cried until she was exhausted. She has 5 scars on her face and a few other on her arms from scratching. I know appearances shouldn't matter, but I'm so angry her skin is marked for life now over some stupid bullshit. This whole thing is just something I never expected to happen. I answered one of Jack's calls, only to have him start a rant that he didn't recognize this person I had become. So I hung up on him. He was due to come back for the start of the work year, which I wasn't looking forward to. But I figured we could make it work as long as Trish was 12 hours away. And at like 11 PM one night, I got a very short and formal text from father-in-law via Jack's phone, saying Trish had come down with shingles and she was in the emergency room, that Jack was staying there to care for her, and that he would work from the house remotely once the year started back up. Jack's been there for the past few weeks tending to Mama's every whim. I'm sure she's put an Oscar-worthy performance of having one foot in the grave, and according to Google, it should be any day now that her painful, crusty pustules go gently into that sweet night. A few weeks ago, I was honestly so tired and overwhelmed and in disbelief that I didn't know what to do. Now I'm back at home with people who actually care about me. I think I'm starting to realize how lucky I am to see the weird relationship with his mummy this early on. The fact that he cares more about Trish than his own daughter speaks volumes. When he eventually comes back, I think we'll have to have a serious talk about our future together. That was quite terrifying in that update, that he locked the baby in the car until OP was going to apologize, and he wasn't gonna let her in until she apologized. The level of control mother-in-law has over him and his stupid choices was just unreal. And I don't know how you would look at that person in the same way again, how you would trust them. You know, they're willing to let their mother do whatever they want, make excuses for it, and then try to make OP apologize for it in the end as well. How do you trust? How do you rebuild from that? I just can't see a way past it. Gina Pesto says he locked your daughter in the car. Holy shit, and assume you wouldn't be able to get her out. I mean, that was why he locked her in, to threaten you. Holy shit. Good for you for dipping out of there after that. Whatever happens with your marriage moving forward, you seem to have your parenting priorities straight. Good luck, and I hope Annie feels better soon. Bud's doing things as, this. He locked a sick baby in the car. Kudos to OP handling that with a cool head, because I would have lost my shit. Another commenter says that is fucking terrifying behavior out of him. That poor baby is gonna grow up with that as a father. Skullbearer says, you only get shingles if you've had chickenpox. The new vaccine prevents it. Rather ironic. I'd get divorce papers served before Mummy Dearest decides your daughter to become a brethren or join Scientology. And I was super glad as well, just one little more comment from me here, that OP had strong support in the background, that they immediately came to OP's aid, willing to drive, willing to let her get that rest, and just saying, you know, doors open whenever you need it, come stay with us. And I hope OP takes that opportunity. But what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is from the Boru Updates subreddit. Shannon Springer put this one together. It was originally from the True Off My Chest subreddit, from a user that was deleted. A little bit inconclusive, it says. It's titled, I found out my sister slept with my fiance and I'm not sorry about what I did after. 30-year-old woman here. I have a sister who's just a year older than me. We've always had such a good relationship, so finding out about this one hurt. She might as well have just stabbed me in my heart. On top of that, I've been with my fiance since high school and we've always been with each other through thick and thin. We were going to get married in a few months. I have no idea why on earth they did this to me. What's even worse was that our mum knew, and out of fear of getting involved. My sister apparently begged her to not say a word. She didn't tell me anything. Thankfully, my dad wasn't having it and he spilled the beans to me. I've never been so angry in my life. Not only did I kick my fiance out and throw out his stuff, some of it is in the trash, but I decided to hurt my sister in another way. Why not do the same for my fiance? Simple, she's my sister. We've always had a good relationship until she decided to ruin it months before my big day, which I allowed her to be a bridesmaid in. You don't do that to anyone, let alone your sister. Your blood. My sister's big on gardening, so when she lost her dog, she made a garden for him. I knocked on her door. She didn't know that I knew, and of course I played nice. I moved on to what she did with my fiance, and I slightly damaged her garden. I honestly just crushed a couple of flowers. Am I sorry? No. Her excuse sent me over the edge. It just happened isn't a reason. Sleeping with my fiance just happened like that, I guess. I told her I didn't want her speaking to me anymore, and that I also didn't want our mum to speak to me. My fiance won't say a word since I threatened to call the police if he ever went near me again. Yeah, I made my sister cry and scream at me, but I genuinely feel like I should be the one crying. She knew how important getting married was to me, and now I can't experience that. Pair that with the fact that I had to hear this from my dad, not my bum excuse of a sister or fiance. Hell, even my own mother didn't say a word to me. It's like she's let my sister run her. Fuck you, Tia. Fuck you, Logan. If they ever see this, I'll be absolutely delighted. Edit. Since many people keep bringing this up, I'm upset that I lost the relationship I've always put 100% into. I was excited to get married, of course, but then this news came out. It really hurt me. I didn't want to believe it at first. I almost thought my dad was pulling my leg. Later turned out to be true. I swear I have trust issues now. Edit 2, thanks again for all the suggestions, y'all. It's helping me feel more confident in exposing them. I'm just a bundle of nerves right now because I know shit's gonna hit the fan again. When I do so, I'll try my best to come with an update. I mean, it's the least you'll deserve. Last edit, when I say I decided to hurt her, it's because I kinda ruined something so meaningful to her. I feel like for most people, besides on here, that would be a bit far. That's just how I feel though. Understand it's not what you guys wanted. Clearly worked out a bit though, since she thought I was so damn psychotic for that. Like I said, I don't feel sorry about hurting her that way. A relevant commenter said, as I posted before, put them on blast. The wedding is off. If you want to know why, ask Tia or Logan. Unless they're too busy having sex together in my bed again. In which case, ask my mother, who knew about it and kept it to herself. The OP came into their update and says, I found out my sister slept with my fiance. I'm so tired. Everyone, seems like my other post has been deleted. Thanks again for the comments and support. I found out quite a bit. To start off, I did expose her and my ex on my story. I unblocked them, both to tag them. Shout out to the user, who we read the comment about, who wrote down what I should say. I saved it and wrote it, but added some other words of my own. My ex actually blocked me after he saw my story. I sent my Reddit post to my sister after. At the time, she didn't see, but I got a call from my ex's mum. She was furious about everything, but she asked me how I was holding up and if I've heard the news. My heart sank a little because I honestly couldn't bear to hear any more bad news. I asked her what she was talking about. She said, so you haven't? I said no and asked her to tell me. My sister's pregnant. Apparently, he told her in an attempt to make her chill out on my sister. I didn't want to hear any more, so I told her I needed to hang up the phone. Thankfully, she accepted because I literally burst into tears 2 seconds later. After 5 minutes of crying, my sister responded to my story and texted with a Reddit post link. She was texting me in all caps, begging me to take it down. If I wasn't so upset, I would have laughed a little, but I just sat there watching her blow up my phone. I even got angrier when she said, I'm coming over and I'm telling mum that you're spreading my business online. Alright, you big baby. Still, never responded though. I felt frozen. 30 minutes later, she's trying to break my door down, so I opened it in a fit of rage and I started screaming all kinds of shit at her. She kept screaming at me to take it down, and I told her that it's going to stay up for as long as I want it to. She kept telling me she didn't deserve online hate, and she even tried telling me that she's always been there for me through everything, and that she would have forgiven me if it was the other way around. That's when I punched her. A small part of me felt guilty. I'm not the fighting type, and that was probably evident in my last post, but she retaliated by saying, it's not my fault he was tired of you. And that's when I told her that I hope she ends up like her dog, and that she deserves every bit of hate she's getting for ruining my relationship. I even apologized for not ruining her entire garden and her stupid face at first. I know I'm wrong for saying this, but the entire time she was playing the victim. She called me evil and told me to rot in hell, kept saying I was punishing her over a mistake. I said you have no idea what you've put me through. and I know you would have done the same thing if you were the victim. She kept crying and insulting me because all she's ever done was support me through everything, and I had the nerve to hurt her and allow strangers to bash her on the internet. I told her she deserved it. I don't want her talking to me ever again, and if she comes near me, I'm calling the police. She kept saying I was being extremely unfair, and she said she was sorry in her texts, but I wasn't having it. I told her to tell Mum I'm not talking to her again either. She asked me if I was really going to cut her off like that, and I just wished her good luck with her unwanted child and told her to go home. That was the last time she walked off my porch. Anyway, I had to clean up my favourite vase because she smashed it, but it doesn't even matter. At least they're out of my life. However, it's weird how sad I feel now. It's for my own good, but damn, I never experienced the bond we had again. On the bright side, it seems like I've dodged 2 bullets. Thanks again though everyone. Maybe I do need therapy. Last edit to say that my dad called not too long ago, asking me to take every post down because according to my mother, my bitch sister is bawling her eyes out over mean people on the internet. As if I'm taking anything down. My dad's pissed about her pregnancy, but my mum continues to defend her by saying we need to chill out on her a little bit. This is why I'm not talking to her. Thanks again everyone. I'm exhausted and I need to worry about other things. And of course that's going to hurt, and it's probably going to take some time to grieve those relationships that you had, even though that they've hurt you that much. You know, these are people that's been with you through your whole lives. You 100% trusted them and they chose to betray you. Obviously for some people it will, but for many people it takes time to get over what that betrayal first. You don't instantly stop loving them or whatever. It's going to take some time to separate yourselves from them, but I don't blame OP one bit for doing so. Sister doesn't seem truly apologetic. She just seems like almost making herself out to be the victim in some ways. Mum's constantly defending her and saying, you need to take it easy on her. Well, OP's just left there broken, thinking that they was getting married at some point, and now they're not. So, that's heartbreaking for OP. Whatever happens in the future, I truly wish you the best. Like you say, in some ways, as a bullet dodge, they've revealed their true selves right there, haven't they? But let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool and you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in despair, crime everywhere. You're selling false hope cause you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. You just don't. Still selling false hope cause you